Maille, this is Eldgrim, and welcome to another spine-tingling episode of Thrand. And I mean that both literally and figuratively. Today is definitely going to be a spine tingler, spine shattering perhaps even. Today we have the Templar sword from Medieval Shoppe. This is a very fine blade, very artistic, beautifully done, nice, beautiful brass fittings here. With the Holy Eucharist here on the handle, that's beautiful. With the cross guard, with the inscription "In hoc signo vincis," in this sign we will conquer, or in this sign you will conquer. So that adds another element of aesthetic beauty to it that I happen to like. The blade is gorgeous, nice, fuller, kind of shallow. Nice sharp edge. The shallow fuller, as a matter of fact, tells me that this blade's going to be fairly heavy, just by feeling it. I believe this weighs about 3.6 to 3.7 pounds. That does not make it a bad blade at all. As a matter of fact, that makes it a hand and a half sword, like a Type 12A or a Type 13A. Although I would say, for its weight, after I've held it, that I would prefer for this blade to have a handle that is about an inch to an inch and a half longer. To me, this would give you a little more torque and a little more cranking power. I feel like that it would be more like a true Type 12A or Type 13A with a slightly longer handle, but that doesn't take away from the usefulness of this sword. Whoever created this, even though it's a modern recreation, was smart enough to put a ricasso here. So even though you don't have that extra inch or inch and a half on the handle, you can still get that extra length with the ricasso grip. So it's not totally a two-hander, and it's not totally a bastard sword. Thrand calls it a true bastard sword. I would say he's probably most correct, although I could see this as being a true two-hander with a slightly longer handle. You will see this sword in Arn the Templar, which is a Swedish film. Actually, it's a really, really awesome film. It's a lot like Kingdom of Heaven, only Swedish. And Arn is basically kind of a Viking. By the way, you're probably going to hear Thrand continually make the mistake of calling the film Arn the Viking instead of Arn the Templar. And I think that's just because Thrand is seeing Arn as a Viking because of his name and his heritage. So forgive him for that, as he makes that mistake. He's been doing that constantly lately. We watched the film, awesome movie, and the sword in that film is a little lighter than what we have here. Obviously, because in a film, you know, the actors want to be able to use it without getting tired. But don't let that discourage you from getting this sword. Getting exhausted is not easy with this. Once you get its momentum going, it's going, and it is not going to stop. You'll probably wear yourself out more trying to get it going again after you hit your target. But once this thing gets going, with all the weight and the momentum and where its point of balance is, it's going to hit very hard, and it's going to be very hard for anybody to stop this thing. I can imagine hitting a light, unprepared, or not very well made shield. I can see this tearing it to shreds. Anybody in armor, better look out. This sword's gonna hurt. It's gonna hit very, very hard. I just can't wait to see what this does. I want to see some armor tests, so we've asked Thrand to put together some tests for that. So we're going to test what happens to bone underneath armor. We'll do a couple of roll wet newspapers just to kind of get a feel for the blade before we hit anything else. And we have our ballistics gel head. That's going to be the spine tingling part. That's what we always all look forward to. And I just don't really have much else to say about this sword. It's beautiful. It's hefty. It's reliable. I would say that the weight is a sign of its reliability, and you know, if the sword doesn't cut, you can just always smash him with it. This is a beauty. I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Thrand without any further ado, and we'll see what kind of damage this sword is capable of. I'm pretty sure it's going to do quite a bit, guys. So let's take it on over to Thrand.
Ooh. Not bad. It can be used one-handed. I actually got a pretty decent cut here. Go ahead and try it hand and a half. Not bad. Not bad at all. what we have here is we have a piece of ballistics gel, and we've tried to make an analog clavicle, like a shoulder bone. Like if someone were to get hit in their collarbone, which is usually relatively easy to break. We used an extremely thick, hard piece of PVC pipe. It's filled with a blood concoction, so we can see if it busts. It's in our hard 20% ballistics gelatin. Over that, we have our gambeson, and then over the gambeson, we have 14 gauge Maille. Now this is butted Maille, but we're not worried about that because whether it unbends or not, it's still going to stop the actual edge, which has nothing to do with reducing the actual blunt force trauma or impact. It's just easier for me to use this and throw it up there with something we have, and it will stop the edge, allow us to see what kind of force transfers through the actual gambeson and into this bone, see if we can break it. I'm just curious with this much weight, what will take place. Oh! Got tremendous trauma splitting the actual gel, but I don't see an actual break in our PVC pipe. Oh! Oh gosh, yeah, it destroyed it. We didn't get our break on this stuff. I think this stuff might be too tough. That's our problem.
It's too thick.
Too thick, yeah. Do you know how hard I hit that?
I know how hard you hit it, dude.
Dude, that would have broke somebody's shoulder. Well, I think we accidentally used too tough of PVC pipe. Someone was telling me the other day that PVC pipe acts nothing like bone. Actually, it can be harder than bone. I'm sorry, but if I had my bone laying here on the ground, I don't think my bone would just change shape slightly and not break. This is not breaking. So I don't think this was a totally fair test for the sword. We should have used a lighter PVC pipe. This is 100 PSI, and the material it's made out of, it's flexible. Bone's not that flexible. Bone at this point would have
Shattered. Living or dead bone would have shattered.
Yes, would have shattered. So, and we have blood inside here. It's not even come out yet. So sorry, the test looked impressive. Destroyed all our gel. I mean, that shows like extreme hematoma. I mean, we're talking about a bruising contusion where we've got ruptured muscle. The shoulder would be useless, but this bone is not a good representation of bone. We do use certain gauges of PVC pipe, or I should say certain ratings of PVC pipe for our spines that act like a spine in our mind. I mean, the best we think that it would, simulate. If we use something like this, you wouldn't be able to cut the head off. I mean, I don't care what you used. You would never get a decapitation if you use something this tough. So, sorry about the bone not being a good analog, but at least we get something from the gel. You can see that it was, I mean, when it splits like that and tears up from the impact, you know that the shoulder would have been, I mean, it would have just totally destroyed it. You wouldn't have been able to use your shoulder, whether it broke the bone or not, but I'm pretty sure the collarbone or clavicle would break under a lot less force. I think it's like 8 pounds of force or something like that. Pounds per square inch. Yeah. Naked. I'm just going to try to chop through it and see if it can even do anything. I'm also highly doubting it. Oh. Almost. We actually busted our pipe. It's cracked. The sword did way better than the hammer. And we've got a nice gash into the plastic. Well, there is no bone that could take that. If I put a bone up here, we've tested bone in the past from different things. You can see my blood in there finally coming out. This is way too tough.
No bone can withstand that impact.
Nobody's bone is that tough. I mean, maybe a femur bone would be tough, but I don't know if it would be that tough. Maybe if you could, what do you call it, deadlift 600 pounds or 800 pounds. I don't know. Maybe your bone would be. I doubt it. I really doubt it.
I don't think so.
I doubt it. I think that would be in twain if it was a man's leg.
So we know the next time we want to do a shoulder test like that we need lighter PVC.
Well, it looked about right. I mean, if everybody looks at that, you can see it looks right. You just wouldn't expect it to be that resilient. But it is plastic. It's not bone. All right, we're here with the Templar sword from Medieval Shoppe. It's much like the one of Arn the Viking. Arn Magnusson used it in the movie, and there's also a series, series of books. And one of the things I noticed about this one is it's much like a type 12A or 13A. It's extremely heavy, but it's a true bastard sword because you have kind of a little bit of a short handle for that weight of sword. So this model's a lot heavier than ones you will see like the movie reproductions, but it's a very nice sword. I like the weight. I see it could be used against Maille, but we're trying it on a gel head right now, and I'm thinking the most powerful cut that could come of this is from an overhead blow coming straight in. So I'll take this posture and I'm going to try cutting right down the center of the head, two-handed, and we'll see what happens here. Oh! Oh gosh.
I think that's absolutely the closest we've ever gotten to a full split. That's closest to the Salle Partisan right there.
Oh, most certainly. This man is dead. Look at that. All the way through the skull into the spine. We started cleaving into the actual jaw. It's separated. It cracked it. It's almost a complete in twain. This is not a, this is chopping the head in twain. And it's gonna fall. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't think we have much more of a head here. That's just because all the weight and it chopping down, it chopped into the actual spine. We've got the spine cracked all the way down to here. Yeah,
that's the most amazing thing I've seen since the Salle Partisan.
I was afraid of that any blows from this, you're not gonna have much of a head left. This is impressive. That blow, I mean, we normally don't get cuts like this, but due to the extra heft and being able to get that kind of power, that's why I say I could see this used against Maille armor, trying to break shoulder bones, anything you have that's a surface area bone. If you hit with something with this kind of mass, although it's not quite as elegant, like Oakshot says, if used properly, it could be very effective, because that was the idea, just increase the amount of force behind the cut or the impact, and you're still going to injure the guy, much like a foul chip. I think this is an excellent version of this sword if you want a heavier sword, because yes, they did exist within those time periods. In the 12th and 13th century, they did have them. And I believe Arn the Viking takes place in the 12th century. Beautiful. I am so impressed. This is just, we haven't had anything like this, have we?
No,
except for the LaSalle.
No, there's been no sword that competes with the LaSalle Partisan. That thing's
the LaSalle went all the way down the spine. If y'all want to go back and check that out, I'll put a link down below in the description. It went all the way through the spine and to the block, pretty much.
But we've never had a sword do that.
No,
much.
never have we had that happen. It even split the jaw. I didn't realize that at first. It had split the jaw. That's why it just fell apart. There's nothing to hold it together. That is, and see the part of the spine.
It's too much. That's just too beautiful.
That was awesome. I'm sorry. This is, yes, it's a heavy sword. Yes, it's going to be harder to recover. You can use it hand and a half. You could use it for riding if you were going by swiping. I still think it's an effective weapon in combat for this style of sword.